Hello, I'm Damien Jones from H&H, and welcome to a brief overview of the 118 cars we've got going under the hammer at the Imperial War Museum, Duxford, on Wednesday, June the 19th. It is, as ever, a particularly diverse selection of cars. In fact, arguably even more so this time. So age-wise, we've got everything from a 1904 Bayard Type AC 2K 911 horsepower rear entrance tonneau, all the way through to a 2009 Jaguar XKR 5-litre Speed and Black edition. Now the Bayard was the brainchild of a Frenchman, Gustave Adolphe Clément, who really deserves to have a film made of his life. I mean, he really was an absolute entrepreneur and adventurer, started off making bicycles, ended up making aeroplanes. He was the person responsible for the first airship to cross the English Channel. He participated in a lot of the intercity and intercountry so-called races of death at the turn of the century. And the Bayard that we've got coming up is a sophisticated design for its time with twin camshafts, oil pressure fed lubrication, 3 forward gears, pressed steel chassis, and it's been in the current ownership since 2011 and a successful and proven London to Brighton runner. It was improved by previous keeper Les Thomas, who's done a lot of nice little engineering tweaks to it. So it's got an electric starter, it's got a windscreen wiper, the canopy top collapses for easy transport. So it's a remarkably or deceptively quick car for its age. So about 30 miles an hour is possible in it. So given that it's less than 60 miles from London to Brighton, a lot less stressful and painful than some of the cars. And with 4-seater coachwork, it is accommodating, so you can have your 3 friends along, and that's just a great thing. The Jaguar at the other end of the spectrum, that XKR, of course, that's a world away. That shows you how far car development had come in 105 years. You've got that 5-litre supercharged V8, the kind of performance that the Bayard could only ever dream of. In terms of size of vehicles in the sale, we've got everything from a 1934 Morgan 3-wheeler, a matchless engine Supersports, MX2 engine Supersports, that was beautifully restored a number of years ago. It was then put on display at the National Motorcycle Museum, which is obviously one of our auction venues. And since then, it's been in a significant private collection on the South Coast. And that is a real jewel, that Morgan, and absolutely ideal for exhibition just as it is, or somebody could recommission it and use it. Although given the fit and finish and shine, that would almost be a shame. Right through to the other end, size-wise, is the 2005 International CXT pickup. Now, when I tell you that CXT stands for Commercial Extreme Truck, extreme is a little bit of an understatement. I mean, the thing is gargantuan. If you're fed up with turning up to the training ground and being looked down to because you're in your Cadillac Escalade and it's only on 26-inch polished alloys and everybody else is on 30-inch, you want this international pickup. It is just huge, absolutely massive. It was the world's largest ever production truck, as in pickup truck. Anything larger than that was classified as a full commercial vehicle. So you can drive it on a car license. It's not B-road friendly, but in terms of a grin on people's faces and stopping traffic, it's just got charisma in spades. In fact, if you're like me, you grew up with Tonka toys, you'll kind of look at it and imagine it as a child who was able to develop their own Tonka toy. I mean, it's just an amazing, amazing bit of kit. In terms of headliners for the auction, we've got that fabulous 1938 Jaguar SS100. Now, that's a remarkable car. It was owned by 2 families all the way from 1938 through to 2022. It was in restoration for decades, and it is believed remarkably to have covered less than 20,000 miles from new. The vendor's done a lot to improve the car, fully overhauled the engine, is happy that it's just on the button ready to go. And obviously SS100, one of the most beautiful pre-war sports cars ever made. Of course, there will be those whose eyes will go no further than the 1967 Aston Martin DB6 Mark I. Again, that's a car that's been owned by a couple of big Aston collectors over the years, had a lot of work put into it, presents as an older restoration, but still in that classic combination of silver with a black leather upholstery. It's got preferred ZF 5-speed manual gearbox, just a great thing. In terms of history, the auction is just full of bits and pieces, but we are particularly proud to be able to bring to market 3 cars from the collection of the late Graham Nairn. Now, if you know who Graham Nairn is, he will need no introduction. For those who don't, he was the founder of Caterham Cars. So he was the person responsible for prolonging the life of the original Lotus 7 design, and in many ways keeping Lotus honest. If Caterham hadn't carried on with the 7, then it might well be that Lotus might have strayed a bit further away from its roots as a manufacturer of clever, lightweight sports cars. Anyway, the cars that have come from the Nairn family include the Lotus Mark 6 prototype. Now, that car is incredibly significant in Lotus history because it was the first serial production model, or the template for the first serial production model, the subsequent Lotus 6s. We've also got a Lotus 6 demonstrator, a works demonstrator, so that was featured in various bits of period publicity, brochures. It won a race at Goodwood with Chapman behind the wheel. In fact, did very well in that summer of '53 against all comers, and then it was later owned by Jabby Cronbach, who was the motoring journalist and magazine founder, and again very well known and a great advocate for Lotus. And finally, from the Nairn family, we've got a Lotus 7 Series 1, and they have a particular, almost like an insect look compared to the later cars, and just a very raw, very pretty thing, and it's polished aluminium, and contrasts nicely with, it's not from the Nairn family, but a Caterham, just showing the progression all the way through. So there is a 1999 Caterham VX Super Sprint. Now, there's some discussion, some mention, various websites, that they only made 9 of these cars with the Vauxhall engine in it. So, and that car was allegedly repainted to the order of its first owner to match his then Ferrari. So it's in a striking gunmetal grey metallic. Looks beautiful, or will look beautiful displayed next to the polished aluminium Lotuses from the Nairn family. We've got, if you're a footy fan, we've got a 1970 Ford Cortina 1600E. Now, it's one of 30 cars that Ford donated to the England squad that year as a promotional piece, and they then had the option of buying them. And the first owner of that car did buy it, and then it's been in long-term ownership since then. It's been nicely restored, but that's a really great piece of motoring memorabilia, football memorabilia. Talking of cars with a link, there is the 1992 Mercedes-Benz 500 SL that was supplied new to none other than Sir Stirling Moss. Now, obviously, he was incredibly famous, the greatest driver never to win the F1 World Championship, but also a sports car race, pretty quick in anything you put him in. The 500 SL was a car that was built to special order for him. He collected it from the factory. He ran it for 4 years. It's got a fully documented history and a letter on file from him as the first owner. We've also got a 1975 Triumph Stag that a lot of people recognise from its appearance on New Tricks as Dennis Waterman's car. And indeed, it's still got a cigarette burn on the driver's seat that Mr. Waterman put there during filming. Again, that's got a great story to it. So it's a really diverse range of vehicles. We've got a Maserati Bora 4.7 litre, and that's believed to be one of just 44 UK right-hand drive examples delivered, of which the majority were 4.7 litre, some with a 4.9. But this particular car has come from long-term ownership. Coincidentally, it was once driven by Sir Stirling Moss, and there's a photo to that effect on file. It's been in a garage for the last however many decades, but the vendor has recently recommissioned it, so in terms of getting it running, so it will be running and driving at the sale. Far more modern and a little bit faster. There's a 2008 Lamborghini Gallardo Spider. That's a car with the e-gear transmission, 40-something thousand miles on the clock, great service history, looks striking as ever in Ballon white with Nero leather upholstery, sports exhaust, so just a great thing. We've also got an incredible collection of no reserve vehicles. So there really is something from everything, or something for everyone in that transition. So we've got everything from a 1927 Rolls-Royce 20 horsepower, which is believed the only survivor out of 2 cars with a Union Motors fabric-bodied limousine coachwork on it. So that's come from a collection and was previously on display in the James H. Farr Museum up in Edinburgh, all the way through to a 1989 ERA Mini Turbo. Again, that's a garage find. I believe that's a two-owner car from new, and that has been owned by Mrs. Ray. It's still got a Ray number plate. Now, she apparently had a Cooper S during the 60s and wanted a spiritual successor, and so settled on the ERA Turbo, and her children and her grandchildren have got lots of fond memories of that car being driven with great aplomb by the late Mrs. Ray. It's a very rare beast. They only made 99 for the UK market. It could well be, judging by the condition of the interior, that I think the 27,000 miles shown on the odometer is correct. So it's well worth saving, well worth bringing back to life. As I say, a fabulous selection of vehicles, all of which will be on view on Tuesday, June the 18th from 12 until 6, and again on the morning of the sale from 9 o'clock onwards. We will start selling at 1 p.m. sharp. We very much hope you can make it to Duxford. Obviously, they'll be bidding in person. If you can't, you can also bid via the telephone or online, our website, h&h.co.uk. If you've got any questions about any of the vehicles, you want further photos, you want somebody to go through the paperwork, please do contact us on 01925 210 035 or via email info@h&h.co.uk. But as I say, very much hope you can make it there. Thank you.